Previously on the Girls Ask Guys show.
It's like little things like that he just went really far out of his way.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing was honestly just being able to laugh with him naturally, like at my personal sense of humor. I didn't feel like I had to hide it. I didn't feel like I had to hide that part of me and not share that part of me. I could really be myself in a way that I'd never been able to be with anyone. And it wasn't anything like lustful or sexual or intimate. It was just straight up like we're at the dinner table eating like Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets or whatever it was. And we're just laughing at something stupid. I'm not even going to lie. We're very mature and we laugh at fart jokes all the time. And so like that was probably one of them. But it was like being able to do that was so freeing. I realized that this is what I had been missing, even in my family, like this type of relationship.
Just being able to be yourself and just, I mean, he stole my line. but
and it sounds so cliche until like you actually experience it. And then you're like, whoa, I get it. A lot of it, honestly, just really immature humor that we both just laugh at. But we're able to do it without feeling judged. You know, we can be vulnerable in that regard and stuff like that. And we're just very comfortable around each other because there's just no reason not to be.
In this episode, we continue our conversation with Lauren as she shares how the Enneagram helped her understand her husband better, what made the decision to marry Miguel easier, and the type of communication that works for their marriage while comparing their communication style with other relationships that have a different communication style. You can find Lauren on Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook with the handle and Coffee Blog. And the fact that you guys you discovered the Enneagram.
Yeah.
And that kind of helped you understand him even more and helped him understand you more. Which kind of like actually lays out the foundation.
Yeah, it really helped me more than it helped him because for him, he actually already knew all the stuff about me. I was blown away. I was like, wait, you knew this? And he was like, yeah, why do you think I always asked you certain questions or asked these about you or like I did this or did this? And I was like, oh my God, you really do know me. But for me, it helped me understand because I know him really well. Like one of the games I like to mess around with him is like when I show him something that he's going to react to, he always pauses before he reacts. And so during his pause, I say what I think he's going to say. And if he continues to pause, I know that I'm right because he gets mad that I know him so well. But I may know those attributes of him, but it's really funny. He gets so mad. But with the Enneagram, it helped me understand his thought process, which is something he couldn't articulate because he didn't realize it. Just like how I didn't. Like I didn't realize that my thought process was always desiring a sense of belonging. Like I had no idea. So how can I expect him to articulate that his whole belief system is based on making sure he is or is perceived as being capable and being more than enough if he doesn't even realize that about himself? So for me to understand that about him really allowed me to support him through a lot of transition over these last few months in a way that a year ago would have destroyed us because I wouldn't have known how to communicate with him. And because of the Enneagram, I was able to support him in such a crucial way that he was able to like super succeed. And now he's doing so well. It's ridiculous. Like we're so blessed. And a big portion of that has been us being able just to support each other.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like the fact that you mentioned communication because almost every show that me and Ashley do, we're always talking about communicate, talk to the person.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was talking to a friend of mine. She's been dating her girlfriend for, 2 or 3 years. I don't know. They've been dating a really long time. Longer than we've been together because we'll be together dating 2 years in January. So we haven't been together very long, but we've gone through so much. It feels like longer.
Might as well get married. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Going anywhere.
Yeah. But we were talking and we were talking to, communication is key. And then we were talking about how, whenever we make plans, both of us are always the ones, because we used to work at the same store and everyone would make fun of us whenever we made plans after work to go eat or something. Because both of us, so I'd be like, oh, let me text Miguel or like, oh, let me text Justine. And everyone's like, oh, like they control you guys. And then Justine and Miguel would do the same thing. Let me text Lauren, let me text Heather. And we're like, well, it's not that we need their permission. Like, could it also be that they know like plans that we forgot about, or like maybe they made plans with Like Miguel might make plans with his mom and dad that he won't tell me about till he picks me up, because he's like, oh, we're going to go have dinner there. Like instead of me making dinner, which isn't a big deal. That's some of it. That's probably like 5% of it. But the other portion of it is I like, if I'm making plans to go out without Miguel, I still let him know when I make the plan, because it's not that I need his permission to go. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
a
like
human
courtesy.
being. Even more than that, I just want him to know. Like I value him so much that I'm like, I listen to true crime and I'm like all paranoid because I've been listening to a lot of scary stuff lately.
Exactly. Anything could happen.
So I'm like, I want you to know where I exist. Right? Oh my gosh. So I'm like, part of it is like, I just want you to know where I am. But the other portion of it is like, I value you. So like, why wouldn't I tell you? Why would I ever put you in a position where you have to question where I am?
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I view it. Like why, especially we're married. So I'm like, why would I ever put you in a position where you have to question where I am?
Yeah.
Like if I left work, you're supposed to pick me up and I'm not there. Why would I ever put you in that scenario of like, where did she go?
Yeah.
Beyond
where
like,
did she
I
go?
walked
What
across
happened?
the street for Panda Express. Like,
yeah,
that doesn't make sense.
I have seen where guys, even when they are married, they have those underlying trust issues.
Yeah.
And it can easily become jealousy, and you didn't do anything wrong.
No.
But the fact that you're letting him know, I mean, not saying
absolutely.
that he has jealousy issues or anything like that, but but he knows, so there is no doubt in his mind.
Right.
I think it's a safety thing too. I mean,
it's safety, it's courtesy, it's planning. But for me, it's just like, I just value so much. There's no question in my mind why I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Right.
Like for me, it's like, it's not even this weird, like, and for some people, it can be a jealousy thing. It could be like, I had a situation. Would you please just do this for me? Totally get it. Totally cool. I respect it. I mean, there's stuff, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but I know we've had conversations where like, hey, can you not do this? I know it's not fair to you, but I had someone in my life who they did this thing too. Can you just not?
It just brings up those
absolutely.
old emotions.
I respect you enough and love you enough that I'm not going to do that. But for me, it's just like, I just don't see why I wouldn't in some ways, just because he's a part of me. And so, and I would want to know too, like, especially like, when he's home waiting for me. Wanted to get off of work and I'm off work at midnight, but we all decide to go get tacos or something like that. I don't want him up till 1:30, wondering where I'm at or whatever. It's just, and the way we are is I'd be like, hey, I'm going to go get tacos. He'd be like, I want to come. So I'll make sure he gets the tacos too.
Yeah. I mean, that is so awesome.
Yeah. It's just one of those things where I feel like sometimes people, like, communication is important, but I think sometimes we can like overcomplicate the communication. And I was always this way, even when I lived at home, and I was in my early 20s before I moved down to Anaheim, and I was with my parents in Northern California, and I'd go out with my friends, and I didn't have my own car, but I would use my dad's car fairly regularly. But oftentimes I'd get picked up by friends. And so, they don't need to know or care where I go. Like, I'm a grown person. I have, have money, I have ID, blah, blah, blah. Like, who cares? But I would all the time, I'd be like, hey mom, like, Raven's taking me up. We're going to go to Stockton. We're going to get boba. And then we're going to drive back to Lodi. And we're going to go to like get Castanedas or like whatever. And then we're going to go shopping. I'll be back around 10:30. And part of the reason I told her was like a safety thing. But the other thing was like, I was like, I just want my mom to know where I'm at. Like, I don't need her to question it. And the other thing for me too is like, I come from a big family. And so like, if I'm near enough, she might need to pick me up so I can come home and like help her with something, like watch a kid or like whatever. But I was always that way with my parents just because I felt better when I would babysit for them, just knowing where they were and what was going on. Why wouldn't I want them to feel that way? And so when I started dating Miguel, it was just the same thing. Like if I knew we were going to touch bases at some point when we were dating, I'd be like, oh, I'm doing this, this, and this until then. And then I have this at this time. And then now when we became engaged, it was just more regular. And now we're married and we're, it's the same thing. Like there's no need not to, in my opinion. But at the same time, like my sister's not that way at all. I mean, her and her husband work from home, so it's a little bit different. They see each other all day long. So she wants to go out. It's like not a big deal, but they've never been the type to like fully communicate things like that to each other because they don't need to. He's a 1 and she's an 8 and they're pretty independent. So they don't really need that communication and that works for them. It's not a big deal. For Miguel and I, it just really works out well just to share. And I think that's the thing that this is where I think people can like overcomplicate it and almost like corporatize the communication, if that makes sense, to make it very like businessy. It's not one size fits all.
No.
Like everyone's a little bit different. My friend Jen, I'm actually going to go meet her to go shopping here in a little bit. Hey Jen, love you. Her and her husband are fly by the cuff. She's a 7, he's a 5, and she's very spontaneous. But her husband, his job is pretty crazy. He sometimes drives all the way out to LA and stuff. And so, and then she's a realtor, so she's all over the place with her job. And so, a lot of times it's just kind of like texting, like, hey, this, hey, that, hey, this, like, live updates. And that's what works for them. Miguel and I gave each other a play-by-play. He works from home and I go to Starbucks. And so he'll drop me off and I'll be like, hey, I'm off at this time. Lunch is at this time. If you want to come over, like, here's my plan. I'll see you at 2. And then we can go to dinner at your parents'. And we do the whole thing in the morning. And then we update each other as the day goes on. My sister, they don't really bother telling each other anything until they need to. And that's what works. And we all have successful marriages. Jen and I have been married almost 30 years, I believe. Miguel and I have been married like 6 months. And my sister's been married a little over a year, but they've been together almost 6 years.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's 3 completely different versions of communication. But at the end of the day, both parties are content in how they communicate.
Exactly.
And that's the big thing. And so one thing, back to our earlier conversation about like, what traits and stuff. I think one thing that really helped me with Miguel to see that he was a really good long-term, person to pursue before I realized that we could get married was his simple value system, of course, of like communication and things like that were very much aligned with mine and how he did it. And that just made it easier.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not possible to make other things work, but it made it easier. My parents are an example of opposite communication. My dad is like a planner, but also fly by the cuff a little bit because he'll get distracted or he'll get pulled into other things. And so he'll, oh, this is this. My mom is she's like me, like I tell you what's going on in the morning and then we do it and that's it. And so, but they just make it work because that's what they've do. And they've been married. They'll be 34 years in June. So, and they have 5 kids. They've lived all over the country and their marriage is amazing. It takes work. I mean, they've had hard times, but divorce was never on the table. And I so admire them from that I've seen them go through job losses and scary diagnoses over the last few years of health concerns and stuff. Thankfully, nothing that, went too crazy, but
it's still an accomplishment.
Yeah,
I think the same way. Like, people talk about relationships and how, you need to go through tough times, but then when things get tough, people will hit the ground running. I mean, obviously, as we always state, if it is abuse, and they're causing you harm, please, that's a bottom line.
That's a totally different conversation.
Right.
Please do what you need to do to get yourself safe, including emotional abuse, because that's what I experienced. Looking back, I was completely being emotionally abused, and I was being emotionally manipulated, and I was able to get out, thank God. But there's plenty of people who don't, and I would say big thing. Even a throwback to earlier when you talked about like, how do you know it's the right person?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you ever
they aren't the right person, just so you know.
100% agree. And I would say like, there's 2 things about that. As I would say, one, if you're really wondering if they're the right person, because you're wondering if something is wrong in the relationship. One, look to the people who you really value and who uplift you. So like for me in my life, I have a great relationship with my parents and a great relationship with my sister. And I had a couple of friends who I was living with at the time who knew me really, really well, and a couple of really great coworkers who have become friends. My mom and my dad and my sister didn't live near me, but they know me so well, they could tell through the phone calls and the text messages that I wasn't the same person. And then everyone who saw me in real life, they all were just kind of like, something's wrong. And so they helped me to see what was going on with it. My sister was the one that was like, Lauren, you shouldn't be this stressed out over dating someone for only a few months. And that was like the big one-liner that like helped me change my mindset about that last guy. But I would say like, I didn't never, like, there was never a moment where I was like, Miguel is the one for me. I don't think the one exists.
Yeah.
Even like I said, like I go to church and I know sometimes you hear people say in the church, not so church, like, there's a man for you, or like God set a man aside for you, like you have a knight in shining armor. I don't believe in that at all.
It's kind of like finding the metal needle in the metal needle haystack.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, there's one person in 7 billion, only one of them.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And so I personally believe that, like, from like the church Christian standpoint, like I believe that there are plenty of people that are on this earth who, God could have set aside for, if you want to use that term of phrasing, or just you could be compatible with at the end of the day. Like that at the end of the day is what it is. There's plenty of people you could be compatible with. And it's your choices and where you want to end up in your life that will lead you to them and them to you. And then this was in our vows. You choose them. That was a big thing for both of us. I'm like pulling up my vows right now because I think they're incredibly truthful. But I hated this notion of like, because I went through like all the crazy purity, Christian, whatever stuff. So if there's anyone listening who had any sort of similar background, please message me. I'd be happy to talk about it. Like I still go to church, but I don't believe any of the crazy bupkis. So you're good.
But don't message me about church. You'll get cussed out. And a lecture about why everything is.
There's complete side note. There's so many people who I think projection's a thing. And I think the church is probably one of the most guilty parties of that. And I believe all about love.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Oh yeah.
And so that's how Miguel and I function. That's how we live. That's who we surround ourselves by. And that's what we're about. And wherever that love is coming from, as long as it's like a quote unquote good sense of love, in the sense of like, if you think abuse is a love, we have another conversation.
Yeah, that's
different. You need a therapist. There. Yeah, absolutely.
Right, exactly. So, but like that's what we're about. But another thing about it is we don't believe that like there's like one person set aside for you.
Right.
That we're all about. We chose you, in the sense, and like in any relationship, like I chose to be with this person, and so our vows was this poem. I've seen anonymous. I've seen other names and stuff, but what we said to each other was, I didn't fall in love with you. I walked into love with you with my eyes wide open, choosing to take every step along the way. I don't believe in fate and destiny, but I do believe that we are fated to be together. Oh, this is a different version, but guess I was like, that's not the right one that we said. Yeah, I know. Well, this one apparently is by Kirsten White, but ours said anonymous. Anyway, but this was the last part that I really loved, which was, in 100 lifetimes, in a million worlds, in any version of reality, I would find you and I would choose you. And that's what we had said together. And that's what I believe is that we didn't fall in love. We like in a sense of like suddenly a hit, Cupid pulled his bow back and then a, heart-shaped arrow hit me in the ass. And all of a sudden I have hearts in my eyes and same to him. And, we're in love forever and all the hearts are around us and, screen goes to black. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
We actively chose to love each other. Last year, we both had the flu really bad, exactly 7 days apart. And it was one of the monster ones where you're just stuck in the bathroom. And he nursed me back to health and I nursed him back to health. We loved each other through that time. And we were not nice to each other during that time. But we chose to love the ill partner because we loved them overall. And, we went through job struggles. I chose to love you during this time. No matter how frustrated I might have been, I chose to love you because I love you more than I love this situation or this circumstance. And I think that's what people miss.
Yeah. Because, even in prior podcasts, that's one of the lines that I keep using is, I choose you. Out of everybody else out in the world, everybody else that I know, I choose you.
Yes. Yep.
And when I say that, it just comes off as arrogant as fuck. Because I'm like, I chose you and you're lucky as fuck. Be thankful.
I mean, it's true. Like, value yourself. I think it's important. But no, it's that's what it's about is and you're right. Like, you should feel a sense of pride in the sense of like, you made this decision, right? And I like that. It's a big thing to say that to someone. I choose you like for life is the equivalent of saying I love you for the first time, in my opinion, because it's a big deal. But the other side of it is so humble. I think it balances it out is because you're being vulnerable and you're saying like forever, here's this ring to symbolize our like forever love.
Yeah.
I choose you.
Yeah.
I want to be with you. But it takes constant work. And I think that it's not working like, because I like that word, but I don't.
Well, it's like work, but it doesn't feel like work.
It just takes
exactly.
it's just being conscious and being aware of your surroundings and who you're with and who you're sharing your bed with.
Yes, and like I like that too, because I think that I read something today. My friend posted it. She was like, the person who you go to bed at night should be the person you trust most in the world. And I was like, ooh,
right?
Yep, true, absolutely true. But I feel like it's very like your relationship and your marriage. I feel like it's very related to like a healthy diet. In the sense of, having a healthy diet takes preparation, it takes time, it takes effort, but the payoff is so great.
Yeah. Right.
And so
and
it's not
just like
something,
any healthy diet, you have to maintain it. You can't just, go on a 30-day
you can't do a detox for 30
then,
yes.
Right.
Yes. Yep. Actually, we were on the same wavelength.
And be like, what happened? If you've got effort.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's something like I've talked to a lot of my friends about, where they miss it. And they feel like there's just like so much more to it than there needs to be. I remember talking to one of my friends who recently got dumped, and my sister gave me excellent advice about that. And because this is what I had done right before Miguel and I started dating, was she was like, you can be upset for one day, you can be sad for one day, and you can feel like all these different ways and question like why this and why that and whatever, but like you can't feel that way beyond that day. Like the next day you have to move on, and you can't question your worth.
Yeah.
Like, so you can't sit there and say like, it's like he dumped you, and you can be like, why weren't we compatible? Why didn't this work out? Like, I'm sad, I'm hurt, I wasted my you can't ask those questions. You can ask, why did I waste my time? What went wrong? Did something happen? And you can ask them genuinely in the sense of looking and reflecting at yourself to get an answer. I was watching a Steve Harvey thing, and he was like, you'll never get closure from men because that's not how we process things. He's like, that's not a derogatory thing towards men. That's just how our brain works. And I was like, oh my God, my entire high school career makes sense.
One of my friends, she told me this, and it was like the smartest thing I ever heard, because I was like going through a breakup, and she was like, closure doesn't mean shit, right? And I was like, what? And she goes, it's not going to make you feel better. And then you're going to have a bunch of more questions. Just move on. And I was like, oh, well, fuck you. You're right. Because that closure, we use closure as a way to get back in. We never really, closure doesn't mean we want to close the chapter. It means we want to continue a new, start a new book. Yep. And so, I mean,
and sometimes you don't even want to know the answer to those questions.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's just true in life. But my sister gave me such good advice, and I've given it over and over and over again. And I'm like, I'm always telling people, like, you can feel sorrow for like the one day, a little bit longer about how long the relationship is, but like you can never ask, was I good enough? You can never ask, what's wrong with me? You can never ask any of those self-inflicting questions, because it's not going to get you anywhere. Even if you contributed to the problem, we can deal with that in a month.
Right. Like, if you contribute to the problem, it's okay. You're not perfect. You're human. And those flaws, while they should be worked on, there's somebody who's like, hey, I know that you're a crazy motherfucker, but guess what? That's okay. I'll be there as you work on yourself. You're crazy and they're crazy has to be compatible. That's my big thing. Like, there's your crazy
absolutely. And
mine.
And the other thing too that I've learned, Miguel really helped me learn this. I use a lot of health analogies because he's a big health nut. And so that's where that's coming from. But one thing I remember him talking to me about, was sometimes the stuff that other people want you to work on are the things that you need to work on. And so his example was always like, this isn't like physically possible necessarily, but like if you weigh like 1,000 pounds, the first thing you should not work on is how to like do deadlifts. That's not compatible. Like the first thing you need to do is figure out your diet and medical concerns and moving your body in a health safety way. So if someone wants to work on your jealousy, or because they're tired of you being jealous, they're tired of you being insecure, they're tired of you doing this, that, the other thing, but in your heart, because if you're self-aware of any sort, you know yourself the best. In your heart, I don't need to work on any of that. I need to work on, for myself, it was like my anxiety. Like I really let anxiousness control my life. I really let worry control my life. I still do sometimes. I'm not clinically diagnosed. I need to have some appointments set up, but we're fairly certain I have a level of an anxiety disorder just based off of how I function. And so I was like, I need to get this in check before I ever worry about all these things that all these other people are projecting onto me.
Yeah.
And it might be true. Just because they're projecting whatever onto you doesn't mean it's not necessarily relevant in your life. It just means that that's what they want you to work on first. Right. So it's like, you need to look at yourself, and maybe they are right. Maybe because the other thing too could be like, you're wanting to work on something else. And they're like, no, you do need to do this first. So it's one of those things where you need to look at, one, who is it coming from and what are their intentions? And then two, you need to look at yourself and say, even if they're right, I really need to work on this, or and they want me to do it first, or whatever, what's best for me right now? Because even if it's like, yeah, I really do need to get my jealousy in check. If you're not in a place to even do that, it's, just do what you need to do first so you can be a better person in the long run. And what I've noticed with Miguel, whenever I've tried to do things like that, he's in such support. He's so in tune with what my needs and vice versa, that he never makes me feel bad for those areas of struggle.
Yeah,
and that's huge.
Awesome. Yeah. Because being able to be in tune with somebody like that and being able to look at them and support them through it, but at the same time, not making you feel guilty. Like if you're trying to lose weight and you break down and you have a cheeseburger and they walk in, they're not going to jump all over you for having a
exactly.
cheeseburger.
Like you made a mistake, and that's very important, because it's okay to motivate someone. It's another thing to make them feel like complete shit. And they're two totally different tactics. If someone's trying to lose weight, then, and that's just the running example.
That's just the analogy that we've been using.
Right.
Yep.
If someone's trying to lose weight, and you see them eating a cheeseburger, but for the last 2 weeks, they've been eating kale, let them have a fucking cheeseburger. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because eating kale for 2 weeks
ask them what's going on. Like, that's my reaction. Like, you see them doing something out of the norm what they've been working on. Miguel, what's going on? Why do you feel this way? What's happening? Talk to me. It could just be, I've had a really long day, so I want this cheeseburger. In translation, it could be, I'm sorry, I've had a really long day, so I'm having an outburst of anger. I'm having an outburst of jealousy, or I'm just feeling really insecure. Like, this is what I'm dealing with right now. Sometimes he doesn't always have the words to express himself right away. And sometimes I have the words that I think are what it is, and they're not it.
Yeah, because that's one of the things, that's one of the differences that I've found between guys and girls, is that when guys become stressed, we go extremely general. And sometimes we can't find the words. And that can become annoying. Where with women, you kind of get more focused. And you get very exact.
Oh yeah, we
the
know
toothbrush
exactly
isn't in the right spot.
Right,
my earrings are
and
moved.
And
the toilet paper's facing the wrong way.
Men can sit on a topic for like 3 days and not talk about it, which drives me nuts. Because here's the thing: if it's an issue, and I have an issue right now, and we address it right now, we don't have to be talking about this in 3 days. It's that kind of thing. It's very different, and it's a very hard dynamic to master. I think that's one of the hardest things about a relationship, is figuring out when to talk about things and how to talk about things together without somebody yelling, somebody punching a wall, somebody losing their shit, somebody crying on the ground, someone leaving. Like that to me is where it's difficult, because we're not all raised the same, and if you are raised the same, hopefully you guys aren't brother and sister. And if you are, that's
you're not
not
from
good.
Arkansas.
Your kids are gonna kids are gonna have like 4 eyes. But we're not raised the same. Everybody's household is different. And all of our houses, our parents we learn anger reactions from our parents, honestly. Like, I don't think it comes to anything like that. So when, I grow up in a house where my parents are freaking out all the time, and what is my natural response? Freak out. Someone grows up in a house where their parents just avoid everything, and there's no talking. Then you have to fucking find this common ground, and that is the test of a good relationship.
That's so funny. That's literally Miguel and I. I grew up in a house that was vocal in our emotions, and Miguel's was not. And the other thing too is, we still fight. We will bicker about little things, and then we'll fight about things. Like we're having like a fight or argument or whatever a couple weeks ago about, I think it was like money or something like that, because we were trying to come up with a plan, because we're saving to go on some trips, and we're trying to pay off some debt, and we're also investing in stocks. So we're doing like a lot with our money right now. And he started a new job, and so we were trying to figure all that out, and we were talking about it, and our minds weren't on the same track. And I could tell that he was processing things so differently than me. And I was like, why are you stressing out? I was like, we're so good. We're so ahead. We're going to pay off more debt sooner. I don't get it. And it was just, we were just escalating. And I was communicating that I was feeling like I wasn't feeling heard. I was feeling like I was being put down. I didn't like that. I felt that I was misinterpreting his concerns as I had to pull more weight. And I was like, where is this coming from? And so then I just kind of got really upset. And then I stopped myself, and because he was sitting, we were looking at the computer screen, and I was standing because I was upset. And I looked at him, I could see in his face that we weren't processing the same emotions. And I stopped myself, and I
exactly.
Yep. I took a moment and I thought back to the Enneagram, and I was like, okay,
always goes back to
a 3. No, I really do. I was like, he's a 3. He's always worried about being capable and being enough. We're talking about money. This is a make or break it for a 3.
Yeah.
And I looked at him, I looked in the eyes, and I was like, what are you really feeling right now? What is your deep set concern not with me? And he was like, this reminds me of some stuff that I had to deal with when I was a kid, when we were trying to do similar things, but we didn't have the money. And so it was hard, and like this, that, and the other. And he went through this whole thing. And I was like, now I get it.
Right.
This was never about Lauren. Yeah. I was like, it was never about Lauren. This was never even about our plan. This was never about any of this. This was bringing up fears from when he was like 5.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
That's what was going on.
And that's awesome too, because you asked the right question. You didn't start like, when someone yells at you, the best thing you should always do is take a break. Obviously, we're all human, so there's going to be times where you clap back, But like, if you could stop and say, okay, so what is the issue? What is your issue? Not what is our issue? We know we're arguing, but what is your issue with this situation? Then if you can hear what the person's problem is, you can probably go, well, damn.
Yeah.
Because when you argue with people, it's because you're not hearing the same things. That's why you're already at war with each other.
Right. And that's exactly what happened. And sometimes we're able to do that. In that situation, we were very fortunate that he was able to communicate really quickly what was going on, because he was able to recognize it and be like, here's what it is. And that just doesn't always happen for either of us. No. Like yesterday, I was just super cranky by the end of the day, and I shouldn't have been. Like, we went out to lunch with some friends for our birthday. We went and saw Frozen 2 for the mom's birthday, but we took our little girls because they were 5 and their birthday was last week. So we took them all to see Frozen 2. And then we all went out and did some shopping. And then Miguel and I went just to the grocery store, got a couple snacks to have like a snack dinner and stuff. And like out of nowhere, I just became so cranky, and I was like, just don't touch me, don't talk to me, don't look at me, like I don't want any of this. And I couldn't articulate it, and Miguel like forced me to stop and was like, what's wrong, like talk to me. I looked at him and I was like, I don't even know. I was like, I can't even communicate what's wrong with me. I was like, I have no idea what's wrong. And he was like, okay, well, what do you need? Because he knows for me as a type 2, I'm super giving and I never take care of myself. And he's like, this is a sign of Laura not taking care of herself today. And he was right. And he's like, what do you need? And I was like, I don't know, but I know what I want right now is I want to eat my hot Cheeto fries with sour cream. I want to drink my cinnamon Coke, and I want to watch Smosh. And he's like, we can do that.
Cinnamon Coke sounds awful. I just want to put that out there.
Good. It sounds awful, but oh my God, it is so good, especially with like a little brandy. Amazing. Because it shouldn't be good. Okay, it shouldn't be good, but it is. And the alcohol rounds out the flavor. I don't know why it works, but it works. It's one of those really weird combinations. That sounds like something they only have in
California.
It's like a promotional thing right now. I'm not even going to lie. I found the mini things at Aldi and I was like, these are $2 and it's Coke. I'm buying it, like whatever. And then I tried it and I was like, okay, work. Okay. Yep. Yeah, I like this. We do a lot of like local traveling. Like we go to Arizona a lot, or we go to Anaheim a lot because it's no more than 4 or 5 hours. And so we do all these little trips all the time. And so we were like figuring all that stuff out. And that's kind of what sparked the argument. But yes, we're very familiar.
Finances are always stressful.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the only thing I have left to pay off is my house. So
that's why I don't date people without jobs. That's exactly who I don't date. Seriously. Like when you have a job, like if you date someone without a job, they have.
I'm like, honestly, what are you doing?
You.
Mhm.
Like all they do. That's when the fight starts because they have nothing else to do and they're bored.
honestly,
and you're doing something.
Well, that's where that sugar baby superpower comes in.
Oh yeah, the sugar baby. Yeah, what superpower or big boobs? Remember the big boob superpower? That's
Yeah.
my
Oh my
favorite
gosh.
one.
I need to go back and listen to all of these. But like
Uh,
my genuine advice
well,
for
that one's
anyone
coming
though.
out. That one's
Oh,
coming
go
out.
ahead.
Yeah. Well, the
okay,
superpower episode is still set to be released.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
wait, I
So
can.
either way, I just need to have that subscribe notification turned on because I don't want to miss
Yeah,
any of
everyone
that.
needs to have that. Did you hear her, people? She, okay, is doing the right thing by subscribing. You all need to be subscribing. Or guess what? We're still going to have awesome conversations, and you're not going to be fresh up to date on the topic.
Yeah,
So
actually,
do I get
have-
a gold star on my nose for also following them on Instagram?
Hell
Yeah,
yeah,
I actually saw
gold
that.
stars. What the fuck?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, no. And that is all the time we have for this episode. You can find the links to reach out and follow Lauren in the show notes and on our website, girlsaskguysshow.com. Again, you can find Lauren on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest at And Coffee Blog, which is spelled as one word. That is ANDCOFFEEBLOG. We'll wrap up our conversation with Lauren in the extended fourth part as Lauren describes being the right person and dealing with struggles before being in a relationship. Be sure to subscribe. It's free and it lets you know when that next very informative episode is available.